I want to thank you so very much indeed. I want to welcome you to this very beautiful segment of Talking Politics on television. And of course, today it's not just going to be something so strange. It is something that we've been talking about. So it's an ongoing thing. And therefore, the very distinguished Nigerians I have with me in the studio are those that are already current. They're very familiar. And of course, they have the language because they know they have the information. Towards my right, and people will tell you that the right position is very critical in whatsoever you do. So, Barrister ALAKWE MBANEFO, I want to welcome you very specially to this program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much indeed, sir. Of course, my reverend gentleman, you very well know, I don't think there's anybody in this environment who does not really know you, sir. We respect you for your level of intelligence.
I think there are people who don't know me.
I tell you that there are more of those who know you, and those who know you really are the ones that really count. Others who do not may not have anything to do with your level of intelligence, so when you are talking, you are not really communicating. But those who know you, sir, they know who you are. So, Reverend OLU Martins, I want to welcome you to this program. So let us, like we said just before we came on, charity, people say begin from where? From home. And so let us begin to look at EDO politics. At the weekend, sir, the Federal High Court, Port Harcourt, decided, of course judicially, that the National Assembly erred in law, so you will use the language, by I would say interfering with the affairs of the Edo State House of Assembly, and they've been put in check, judicially. And so the situation now is that the House of Assembly is now transacting businesses legally. That is number one. Then number two, I happen to know, and of course it has been reported, and nobody challenged it in court of any competent jurisdiction, sir, that the governor of the state does not have the right to do what he did. He has signed the first bill that was passed into law by the House of Assembly. He has given his assent. It is now law. And so this is where we are. And if you begin to look at the political mathematics in Edo State at the moment, it appears the only reasonable thing that I think is available at the moment is to get the people who are on pilgrimage in Abuja to join their brothers and sisters here in Benin to get themselves sworn in so that they can do business and move the state forward instead of where we are. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the judiciary once again has spoken, and the judgment of that court has brought to rest all the speculations as to the validity of the inauguration of that house by the Edo State Governor Basiki. And that said, like you said, it therefore means that those legislatures who are out of the state for reasons best known to themselves has no choice than to come back and join the members at the House of Assembly. And of course, by the verdict of that court, it therefore means that every bill that has been passed into law by that House and assented to by the governor, need not be questioned, but it means that it was validly done. It was also done in compliance with the laws of the land. And but let me take it a little bit from the other side. Ordinarily, the Constitution, which the National Assembly was hinging their actions on, did also specify that for a House of Assembly of a state to be taken over by the National Assembly, certain things must have happened to the extent that the law and order of that house has broken down. To the extent that there's anarchy in that house before the National Assembly can say we are taking over the house. But in the case of Edo State, there's nothing of such. And if there's nothing of such, the National Assembly could only be seen as a meddlesome interloper in trying to assume powers to take over the house. So, like the court said, that the action of the National Assembly was null and void, it was unconstitutional, it was of no effect, and therefore the house remained valid as constituted. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. My reverend gentleman, sir, this is a matter that we don't need to really beat about the bush, arriving at conclusion. The court has set the pace. I think it's just ego does not have a part to play in this matter, except to think otherwise. I think the best thing for us to do now is to get ourselves together as a people, get ourselves together as reasonable Edo citizens who can put things together, go to the house and begin to do business as normally as possible. What do you think, sir?
Thank you, sir. And let me thank Pinnacle Television for setting the pace in such very topical discussion that leads to the development of our people.
Thank you, sir.
Let me say that it was Patrick Henry that says that the people have two problems. It is the government and criminals. But that we must use the law and the constitution to tie down the government, otherwise the government will become a legitimate version of criminals.
Okay.
In other words, where there's no law, the government is the criminal. So you can imagine if you have a police officer that doesn't have rules of engagement and he legitimately must be on the streets, what you have is a legitimate criminal. And the judiciary, the court, has something they made a pronouncement. Like the barristers will say, they've also expanded our jurisprudence and then they have set a precedence. What it means that subsequently, when there's a similar case, you don't need too much research. You just refer to, I don't know how it is couched.
A case that has been decided.
Edo State versus whoever went to court, and then there's a precedence has been set. And to that is healthy for democracy, because what we run is a federal system of government, where we had consistently said that the states are federating units, independent in themselves, who consciously ceded part of their sovereignty to a common purpose for the good governance of the people. So we must give judiciary, credence, for that. But going forward, is that I am forced to quote the story of Jephthah in the Bible, whom the Bible said was, even though he was the first of the man, but his mother was a harlot, and they pursued him and said, "You have no inheritance with us." But when there was a bigger target and the land was threatened, they forgot about their differences and said, even though your mother is a prostitute, in this particular instance now, there's a bigger enemy. So let's forget about our differences. We need to protect our people. And I have to go and call Jephthah so that Jephthah can deliver the people, which he did. So I think that going forward, that's what our guys who have gone on pilgrimage, in your words, or who have gone on sojourn. I saw one of them in one of the television who had been their spokesman, Washington Yesifu, and it looked like they were also beginning to review, what they're doing. Pride has no place in it, because you were not elected to represent yourself.
No.
You were elected to represent an aggregate of opinion of your people. You were elected to go there and ventilate the opinion of the consensus of your people. So you do not have your own mindset. You are a messenger, and a messenger must consistently and constantly deliver the message of his people. And I don't think the people of Umode and every other of the people who have absented themselves, either serving the interest of a supposed godfather or serving the interest, of a faction or a group of people whose voices dissent. Politics is about crisis and consensus. We agree to disagree, and we disagree to agree. Having disagreed, and the court has made us to agree, one would expect that the reasonable thing to do is that people will retrace their steps and then come to say, now that the court has spoken, or like the barrister will say, as lordship pleases, you will come home and say, look, I feel bad, about it. But the law doesn't know whether you are happy or you are unhappy. It follows evidence. And having spoken, you forget about how you feel about it and then come together so that we can have one house for the good governance of Edo people. And like Enid Blyton said in those books we used to read back in the days, maybe they will live happily ever after.
Thank you so very much indeed. We take a short break. I haven't heard my very good friend, sir, from the point of law, and I haven't heard the gentleman, not only from the point of the church, but coming and putting everything together the way it should be. Time has come for us now to move forward. Stay tuned.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
For more exciting, educative, and entertaining programs such as Law and You, Talk Politics, Entertainment Gist, Relationship Talks, and other programs, keep watching Pinnacle TV. You can watch, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Pinnacle TV Online. You can also visit our website at www.pinnacletv.com. Follow us on Facebook at Pinnacle TV Online or call us on 081 546 99989. Pinnacle TV, top quality broadcasting.
Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are very happy to welcome you back, and we're looking at another matter which is very important to us in this country at the moment. Reverend OLU Martins, I'm starting with you on this call. Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president, I don't quite like his role, so it's difficult for me to really understand what he is doing. Has raised 3 envoys to go to about 7 African countries with different messages on Pan-African unity, on their commitment to the rule of law. My little problem here, and I need to bring it up so that we can look at it globally, is how committed the South African government and our president to the areas that they have mapped out. Number one, even if you are able to establish the issue of commitment, the Nigerians and the Africans that have been unfortunately involved in this, traumatized in the process, lost their properties, have been forced to leave South Africa. Is it so very easy for them to simply take sorry for the whole thing? Or sorry, answer the question? Or isn't there something the Nigerian government can do to tell South Africa, this is the last time I'll ever allow this kind of a thing to happen again?
I agree with you, sir. Cyril Ramaphosa, with profound respect to him and his office as president of South Africa, is playing the ostrich. Cyril Ramaphosa is one of the richest men in South Africa.
He is.
And he's a major stakeholder in one of the national carriers, MTN to be precise. Some days ago, my group had a rally in solidarity with our people, and as we were passing the MTN office on First Junction, we saw DSS men there armed, because prior to that time they had thrown a kerosene bomb into that place and part of it caught fire, and that was replicated in several other places. It's beginning to affect Cyril Ramaphosa, who is a major shareholder in MTN.
Yes.
So because of that, what he's doing now is to protect his economic survival.
Precisely.
I remember last week or thereabout where the learned barrister mentioned, to my utmost chagrin too, that part of Cyril Ramaphosa's campaign, pre-election campaign, is exactly what he's playing out. So what he's doing for me, he's playing the ostrich. Paul Kagame, president of Rwanda, just yesterday made it clear that South Africa should be suspended from the African Union.
I should think so.
Unlike Ojukwu, Buri we stand. And on that statement we stand, it should be suspended. There must be consequences for action. It was Ecclesiastes that says, because judgment against an evil act is not executed speedily, the heart of men is said to do evil. And when all of this transpired, and indeed it went on for a while, it wasn't this year. This year's one was just a crescendo, it got to the climax. But it had been happening several times under the watch of the same Ramaphosa. He didn't see anything, and Nigerians didn't do anything. But when we also, quote and unquote, seem to be retaliating, knowing his economic survival is being threatened, he's doing some of the things that he is doing. It is not on record that in all of the attacks Ramaphosa condemned. It's not on record that in all of the attacks the police were restrained.
No.
It's not on record that in all of the attacks the military took proactive actions. So what is happening now is that knowing that if these things persist, other countries are beginning to profile South Africa and say, look at how many people you have in Nigeria compared to how many people compared to how many Nigerians are in South Africa. There must be punishment for an evil act done. I don't know the author that said an evil done to man will be punished, if not in this world, but in the world, afterward. It must serve as a deterrent. Nigeria is not just Nigeria. It's the largest, it's the most populous in terms of human beings, because Mali, in terms of land population, land mass is bigger than Nigeria, but in terms of population, it is the largest in Africa. And in terms of economy, up until recently, was the largest economy in Africa. So if anybody was to be given a permanent member of the G8, to make it G9, it probably would be Nigeria. So you don't toy with that kind of a nation that has also provided an economic fertile ground for South Africa, given their very many divested interests within the shores of the country. So we should pass the message to Cyril Ramaphosa in very clear terms. You are playing the ostrich, and your actions now is an afterthought. You can't cry when the head is off.
It is difficult.
You can't gather the spilled milk. People have returned. Properties were burned. People died, and you allow that to protract. All of a sudden, when it looked like member states of the AU were thinking about taking actions not just against your country, but an action that may be antithetical to your own economic survival, you're doing what you are doing. It's not sufficient. I want to reiterate and re-amplify what Paul Kagame has said, that for at least a year or two, South Africa should be sanctioned, they should be suspended from the African Union, and all of the things that attract to you as a country, as a member state of African Union, should be withdrawn. For there must be consequences for this kind of action for the purpose of serving as a deterrent in the future.
Barrister MBANEFO, I'm not saying we should take this matter to court, but you're here, and so we need to educate our people. At least we need to know that we are talking on their behalf. We are interested in what they went through, and the returnees in particular are Nigerians. They left their homes, they left their houses, they left their properties, some left their wives and their children, and of course they're traumatized. When you're talking about compensation, must there be other conditions you satisfy before you qualify to be compensated for, if you are really injured?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I concur with my very good friend here on his submissions on what transpired in South Africa, and the issue of compensation, which the South African government is being evasive even. The apologies rendered by Ramaphosa, South African president, he never talked about compensation. And
he won't talk about
mere apologies cannot return lives lost.
Okay.
Because it is a truism that life, when lost, cannot be regained. But properties, when lost, can be regained. So if we're talking about compensation here, are we trying to compensate the families of those that died? Are we trying to compensate the people that lost their businesses in South Africa? And so beyond, I feel that South African government should be meant to compensate those who even died, their families, and those who lost their properties.
Okay.
Because that would be a way of penalizing them, so that next time government will take up their responsibility as a government. Because what happens in South Africa actually is a kind of failure of governance on the side of the government. Because for the deputy, police minister, the Minister of Police Affairs, the Deputy Minister of Police Affairs in South Africa, Mr. Bugani Ngozi, said that he justified the killing in South Africa. He justified the raidings of people's properties in South Africa by saying that 80% of businessmen in South Africa 8% of business in South Africa is owned by foreigners, and as such, that government was supporting xenophobia in South Africa. And that statement made by such a high-profile, government official, shows that the government themselves were culprits. They was a part of conspiracy to what happened in South Africa. And so, if the Ramaphosa is apologizing, we expect him to first of all, discharge that young man of his duties, or relieve him of duties, or sack him from his office, and say this man wasn't speaking the mind of the government. But if that man still retains his post as Deputy Minister of Police Affairs in South Africa, and nothing is done about it, and they are sending an envoy to Nigeria to come and discuss with the Nigerian government and to say sorry to us, the envoy, what are the packages of the envoy? What are the terms to be discussed with the Nigerian government? We've not known that yet. And again, I feel that for the first time in Nigeria, the federal government has taken a bold step by recalling our ambassador to South Africa, and then also sending an envoy to South Africa in government to inform the government of South Africa that this is what Nigerians want, and we feel bad about what the government have done, and that if this other did not happen, we will do this and that. And so if they don't comply to our terms, we will severe relations with South Africa. Like my friend said, that I agree with Paul Kagame of Rwanda. The African Union need to rise to the occasion by saying that, look, this country ceases to become a member of African Union for now, because what they have done so far is quite un-African, and we expect that some punishment should be meted to South Africa so that it will not happen again. Again, if you look at the ways of Frantz Fanon, the guy who authored the book titled The Wretched of the Earth, Frantz Fanon did say that when the oppressed cannot get to the oppressor, they turn to themselves. So one therefore wonders how 80% of white South Africans who holds the economy cannot be attacked by the black South Africans, but instead they resorted to to Africans from other countries in South Africa, instead of turning to the white South Africans who are holding the economy, to the juggler. And so Fanon probably was looking at people of South Africa while authoring that book titled The Wretched of the Earth. And therefore, what happened in South Africa was quite overreaching of a people. It was quite overreaching of a government. It was quite overreaching of an African nation against fellow African nations.
I'll still come back to you again, Reverend OLU Martins, for a very short time, but it's so important for the AU to take the decision that Paul Kagame is talking about. There has to be a session. And I know that we talked very briefly about this last week. Isn't there an urgent need for some leaders in the AU, sir, to get themselves together and get a session of the AU convened to deal with the South African situation, so that it is not a matter that is swept under the carpet or a matter that is just dealt with piecemeal? Let it be done just the civilized way matters like this are dealt with.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you, except safe to say that if you look at the AU Charter, the AU Charter is runs like a confederal state.
Yes.
It has a weak center.
Yes.
Right? Because you must also be conscious of international diplomacy. Countries are sovereign in themselves. They have a government that is empowered to govern them. But then on the other side of it is that, and then, this is an online television, so the world is becoming a village. So what is affecting Mr. A doesn't take a long time to get to what's affecting Mr. B. By posting a video, you can either condemn or reinforce, a negative action. So because of that, I think that the AU can quickly convocate extraordinary session and then deliberate on this, particular matter and far-reaching decision. Because it's not the first time this has happened. I know what United Nations has done to North Korea. As North Korea became, stubborn over their experiment of nuclear armaments. So I think that the AU and African nations to also demonstrate to the EU. We used to be OAU, but as soon as the EU became EU, we also became
AU.
So to also demonstrate to them that we don't follow the Odyssean tour in Africa where life is short, nasty, and brutish. We need to demonstrate to them that we are human beings and that an injustice to anybody in Africa anyway is an injustice to every African. Consensus added them that an extraordinary session should be convocated immediately. And, discussion should be taken, and then far-reaching implications and repercussions of what has transpired in Africa. There are vestiges, small vestiges of it taking place in other African nations like Ghana. I mean, the hatred, especially for Nigeria, is building up. So if South Africa is contending in terms of economic relevance with Nigeria, can do that and get away with it.
That any other nation can do it and
they
get
stretched
away.
for their hands and they took James, and when the people didn't do anything, they took it further.
They took Peter.
So it can be any nation, tomorrow. We've got to, like the Americans, demonstrate that you can't mess with Nigeria and get away with it.
We've gotten that package wrapped up, our very distinguished viewers, and of course we'll take another short break, and when we return, there is a development in America at the moment, and of course we'll talk about it. Stay tuned.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
For more exciting, educative, and entertaining programs such as Law and You, Talk Politics, Entertainment Gist, Relationship Talk, and other programs, keep watching Pinnacle TV. You can watch, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Pinnacle TV Online. You can also visit our website at www.pinnacletv.com. Follow us on Facebook at Pinnacle TV Online or call us on 081-546-99989. Pinnacle TV, top quality broadcasting.
You're welcome back. Again, I have to start with the lawyer so that we look at the legal implications of the kind of a thing, the kind of, I don't want to accuse anybody, but I just want to draw the attention of the world as it is now to the kind of language being used by Barack Obama against Donald Trump. Yes, once upon a time, Barack Obama was the president of the United States of America, and he did so marvelously well. People said so, and we are guarded by facts and figures, and we know he did so very well. But you listen to Barack Obama these days, the language he uses against the president, the man who is in charge of affairs in the United States of America, is so unpresidential. And one would have thought that a man of Barack Obama's standard, because he's a professor of law, and they handle languages. They know what to say. They know when to say it. They know how to say it. But you see, the language is so obscene, and it makes me wonder whether he is asking the Republican Party that produced Donald Trump to abort his tenure, or getting the American voters when eventually the time comes and Donald Trump offers himself for a second term to just reject him at the polls. Even if you also do that, is that the right method?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question and very interesting topic. I was smiling because the United States appears to be a different country entirely, a different climate entirely, where democracy speaks, walks, and dances along the street, compared to most of other countries where the whole thing is a clown's affair. Yes, Obama's outburst on Trump, may not be very presidential, may be very unpresidential according to your language, but Obama speaks from his heart as an American. Obama speaks from his heart as an ex-president of America. Obama speaks from his heart as a stakeholder of the United States of America. Obama speaks from his heart because he knows the tenets of governance. Obama speaks from his heart because he knows what America stands for globally. Obama speaks from his heart because he knew that Donald Trump has only been sustained as the American president by the Constitution of America, which says that you cannot indict a sitting president. So, and from all indications, from the way Trump emerged, from the scandal of the Russian interference to American politics, Obama has not been happy. The Democrats have not been happy about the role the Trump's campaign team played before he was elected, and of course, before he was sworn in as a president. So,
has that been established by law?
Established?
Has that one been established by law?
Well, for what is going on,
Put in case so far.
Yeah, I've told
as
you.
a lawyer.
Yeah, I've told you earlier. that the American's constitution is very clear on that you can't indict a sitting president. From every indication, from every panels I've set up to look into this, and from the statements made by guys like the former lawyer to Donald Trump, and the lawyers' statement made by most of the officers of his government, Trump's government, they have always, by their ways, indicted Donald Trump. Because of what the law stands for, you can't say that he has been indicted until he leaves office. Then anybody who has interest can now go to court. The immunity is what is having holding Trump as American president. It's not, Trump has been too harsh on immigration, and like you know, the United States is an immigration nation. It's a country built on immigration, because the only people that can claim to be indigenous of America are the Red Indians who live in the bush and in the caves. They are not even part of the system in America. So about 95% of citizens of the U.S. are all immigrants. And so this gentleman has come to bring a kind of a very, as a part of the nation, try to see if Trump himself can calm down and, of course, lead America for what America stands for. That's my take on it.
Reverend OLU Martins, yes, the president is the father of the nation, but there is an extent to which he can go. And if the idea we buy this that he has to be protected to an extent, there was once upon a time a Watergate scandal in the U.S. and somebody fell. Is it impossible for another person to fall if the law establishes the charges?
You're talking about Richard Nixon.
Oh.
Yes. Even till the very last minute, Richard Nixon still denied.
He denied it.
Up until
there was this overwhelming evidence.
the evidence against.
Yes.
I like the preamble of the American Constitution, wherein it says that we hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and they have inalienable right to life, to own property, and freedom of movement and expression. That is an excerpt for the preamble of the American Constitution. So I agree with you that perhaps former President Barack Obama should conduct himself more presidentially.
More presidentially.
But there is a local corollary to it, if you like.
Nigerian local or
yes,
American local?
Nigerian local, but it's like borrowing the system.
I mean, we have to look at it.
Obasanjo versus Buhari. And if you hear language of President Obasanjo, especially in his letters, what he has said on certain platforms, you would almost think that he's being unpresidential. You would expect that he will probably toe the lines of the Aneshonekons and go on. But Obasanjo is who he is.
Yeah.
He's very Nigerian, perhaps the most patriotic Nigerian president that Nigeria has ever known. Maybe Murtala were alive, we could have been able to compare. So the man speaks from the anguish of his heart, just like Anna did in the Bible. See, your servant is not drunk. I'm speaking from the depths of anger. I'm not sure that America has seen another president like
Barack?
No, like Donald Trump, in his conduct, in his own language, in the choice of words that he uses. And perhaps it is the first time that America is having a president who came from the organized private sector straight to become president. It has never happened in the history of America.
It has never happened in the
You
history
check,
of
most of them are probably been a governor, probably been a senator, probably been a mayor. So he's been schooled in the language of public communication. Unfortunately, President Donald Trump doesn't care about decorum as he expresses himself. So I think that Barack Obama is being pushed to the corner to say, look, we've got to say it the way that it is, without couching, without trying to polish our words. But you quickly go back to reverse roles. I know some of the statements that Donald Trump made when Barack Obama was president of America. So
or especially the last 3 months.
So Donald Trump is characteristic for the kind of way that he speaks. So he's getting it back from Obama. Nobody has a monopoly of violence. I think that perhaps that's what Barack Obama is trying to say. Like Barrister ALAKWE said, many of Donald Trump's policy is directed at the minorities, including the black minorities, and many of them are conscious. As a matter of fact, part of Trump's direction is to almost return America back to the white supremacists, which he mostly has represented in the way that he speaks. So if the man doesn't use the kind of language that he's using, perhaps America will not wake up. Because truth be told, America needs to wake up. Because by the time Donald Trump is done with America, America would never remain the way it was before. It's what is happening to Boris Johnson he almost has the same. They even look alike in Great Britain. The only problem is that it's difficult in Great Britain. The political culture of Great Britain is older than anybody's great-grandfather, and they are cast in gold, and they are conservative. They are not like the Americans who are loquacious. So he won't take. So Boris Johnson would find the opportunity. He would find it difficult to express himself like Donald Trump is doing, where the Americans are known, to be loquacious. I agree that 2 wrongs don't make it right, but quickly look at what happened in the World Cup. We saw Zinedine Zidane, World Footballer of the Year 3 times, give somebody a headbutt. Live on television. The referee unfortunately came and flashed him and said, "Look, you are a role model." But after the match, they had to ask him, "Why did you react like that?" He said the guy called him a red baboon and made very serious semantic statements in it. So even when people condemned the action of Zinedine, people also agree that what that guy called him was enough to even do worse than he has done. So I agree that Obama should be more presidential, but the actions and the inactions and the statements of Donald Trump it can provoke any say.
So what are you saying now? Gentlemen, what exactly are you saying? Are you saying that Donald Trump should repent from the things that he says, or that he should try as much as possible to now school himself in the language?
Donald Trump is the president, is the incumbent president.
Precisely.
He has more reason to be presidential than Barack Obama, who was former
president.
Is that what
I concur.
You agree entirely with it?
Very much I concur, yes.
Our viewers, we want to thank you so very much indeed for being with us. That's another very beautiful wrap. We'll take another break before. I think this is going to be the last one for this morning. And then later on, we decide on what to do. Please stay tuned.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
For more exciting, educative, and entertaining programs such as Law and You, Talk Politics, Entertainment Gist, Relationship Talk, and other programs, keep watching Pinnacle TV. You can watch, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Pinnacle TV Online. You can also visit our website at www.pinnacletv.com. Follow us on Facebook at Pinnacle TV Online, or call us on 081-546-99989. Pinnacle TV, top quality broadcasting.
Want to thank you so very much indeed for being with us, and I want to assure you, as I have always done, that when we return next week, it will be far more exciting than this. Thank you for being with us, and here we'll make sure that we protect your interest. Thank you so very much indeed, and God bless you.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
For more exciting, educative, and entertaining programs such as Law and You, Talk Politics, Entertainment Gist, Relationship Talk, and other programs, keep watching Pinnacle TV. You can watch, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Pinnacle TV Online. You can also visit our website at www.pinnacletv.com. Follow us on Facebook